Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And Matty, we know where each other are this week. Where are we?
We do. We're looking out at the lovely Melbourne skyline. We do have a crane that Coburn is building the building next to us, and I've been promised that they're not going to go above the height of this building and block out our view.
Okay.
But I'm keeping close tabs on that one. But it's good to be back in Melbourne and doing the pod in person, even though we missed last week.
Yes, and just before we move on from that, is that site loaded up on BuildPass, or is that the one that needs some door-to-door sales? Or
We wouldn't have a site down the road in Cremorne, Richmond, without having BuildPass. So, of course.
Well, it is good to be at the BuildPass offices, and obviously the built-to-scale rooftop is now thing to find as we've waddled our way in here. I've brought a bottle of Californian's Infidel with me, which is quickly becoming a favourite drop of your and mine.
A little throwback.
And I'm coming off the enormous high of the Melbourne Build Expo.
I hear there was a few faces turned.
Well, you would think, with my substantial career in the construction industry, that potentially I'll bowl in there and some people, you could get recognised for all the feats as a builder.
Yeah.
But unfortunately not. No recognition of W. Even the old joint, nothing. But a few different people stopped for a photo and a chat, liking the pod.
Because we're not really tracking audience and numbers, nor have many ambitions, it is nice to hear when people listen in. There are people out there that are listening, which is good.
And a wide variety. So there was your classic, couple of builders, borderline, sort of almost carpentry, background type guys. And there was the real geeks. Little dudes, your crowd.
I've been pulling them in.
So you definitely
I pulled them your way.
Yeah, no, there was the short little dude with the glasses, and I was quickly trying to look at their tags because they're pretty much what I'm trying to recruit right now with the Elysium build out. I'm not looking around for the broad-shouldered guy with the tool belt on anymore. I've got enough of them. And
you weren't, and you should have been handing business cards out at the time.
I was so
You're like a deer in headlights, not knowing what to do with the paparazzi.
So unorganised. So potentially next year for the Build Expo, I thought at the time actually that we should have done a pod there. We could have done a little hour, but we might save it for the Tech Expo. We'll say.
True. Yeah, we'll keep that up our sleeve.
But mate, my eyes are, I don't know if it's the sun coming in off some of that water on the terrace there. It's bouncing off that beautiful new watch of yours. Can you give us all an update on what's going on?
Well, maybe
I think he was an Apple Watch fanatic for a long time.
Yeah, so maybe our producer can zoom in on this in the post prod. But this looks very much like a Rolex. Cost me $270.
Oh, really? That's what it was, a Rolex.
No. So it's cheap knockoff. I've told my wife that if I haven't made enough money to afford a Rolex by the time I'm 40, that she has to somehow find the money to buy me one. But until then, cheap little knockoff, just from the store down the road from my parents, supporting local, little Melbourne guy that's probably, I don't know, just ordered something in from China and it's made it look like a Rollie. So I've joined the club in look, but not in status.
Even if you are completely lying to satisfy your investors, that absolutely is a Rollie.
No one will know.
I lie to cover up.
No one will know.
Cover up could be worse than the crime.
But it does signal the ditching of the Apple Watch, which we've talked about a bit before. But I just couldn't stand having to charge my watch twice a day and getting left with a dead watch, especially with all the travel. That wouldn't even tell me the time. So I think the Apple Watch is not going to get sold, but it'll be reserved to maybe tracking my sleep. And then I'll put it on when I'm going for a swim or a run. So it becomes an expensive garment.
I think in general, we're going down that back to the future of the deviceless future. I think everyone thinks they love their phone or they love their Apple Watch. It's like you actually love getting your time back and not having to look at those things, I think. And it was like during the week, all these people are saying, Elon, we want the new robo-taxi to have a steering wheel in case I want to drive. And he's like, no one wants to drive. You all think no one wants to, but as soon as you get in a Waymo, you don't want to drive anymore.
Yeah, unless it's a hobby. It's like you would go and, like a photographer, for example, might shoot on film because they like doing that. They like the art of shooting on film. But no one out there can genuinely tell me that shooting on film gets you a better shot than using an expensive digital camera, right? So it's going back to, I think, the hobby things. We'll still drive around cars for the fun of it, around a track, or you might have a car that you can take down the road if we'll even be allowed to in 20 years. But you're right, like for general travel, no one wants to be stuck in traffic having to look at the traffic and when you have to go and stop. Everyone just wants to look down at their phone and do something productive.
Yeah, or charge their watch. No one wants to have to charge their watch. So we're actually, I've been talking to a few people about Elysium lately, and you get that, I don't want a smart home. I don't want, and you're like, you've never seen one. There's never been one invented. There's no such thing. Don't tell me you don't want a smart home. So, no, it's the same thing. People will tell me, what if I like doing the dishes? What if I like cooking? You can still, I'm sure, get involved and do the dishes and cook if you want. But we've had a chat here today. I've gone full visionary tech guy, and I've created a new email signature.
Right.
Being the Elysium CEO, I hadn't even thought about it, but we've been sending out all these decks and stuff lately. So I couldn't just build it and just put my name at. I've gone with vision at elysium.ai.
Wow.
So like not even my name.
Vision, just visions.
Vision.
I love it.
The idea being that if you're going to write back to me and you're going to ask for some of my time, it better be something important, like something strategic. Like, don't send me a mundane.
Wait. So are you saying that it's your role in the signature is vision, or it's vision at Elysium?
Yeah. So the role is CEO.
Yeah.
But the email's vision at Elysium for there. Well, I think it's just setting a tone for what I want to talk about.
It actually reminds me of a ex post that I saw from, do you follow Balaji? The guy does the network state Bitcoin guy, really smart thinker. And it was quite a interesting post. It would basically said, if you're going to request that someone who's busier than you do something for you, you'd better really package it up and make it simple for them. That's how you get a response. I just thought, like, in life, that's so true. If I'm trying to raise money from an investor who's busier than I am, or at least thinks they are, I'm going to deliver them the most simple message to respond to, or the most compelling deck to respond to. I'm not going to just ask them for some time. So I think it's probably a similar thing. You're saying, if you want some of my time in this thing, I'm really freaking busy at the moment. Share the vision. Share the big vision that you want my time for.
Yeah, it's similar. I think I might have mentioned on the pod before, but my music teacher, who's when we're writing music, said, "Don't bore us, get to the chorus."
You were a music guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But
what did you play? Or
a bit of songwriting and guitar.
There you go. This doesn't come up on the pod yet.
Well, our wonderful producer changes the song every week. I never thought about writing one, but we definitely could. Or just get AI to write one.
Yeah.
I see some of the viral clips lately
But will you sing it as well?
Not a great singer.
Okay.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not.
Songwriting.
But can't do it all. But and then the editor of the New York Times came to Stanford to talk to us about the reason that headlines are headlines in the first paragraph, and that everything gets less interesting in a Generalist article. So I think same thing. If you are going to get someone's attention, I would say personalized heading, capture their attention, and give them as much of the good stuff up front as you can, and as short as possible.
And keep it short. Exactly.
Keep it very short.
Exactly. Now, I must, we need to get this out of the way. I need to top my wine up, but Scotty's already had a top up. So I just want to, I haven't just sculled this. He's on his second glass and I'm just matching. So, but please keep going.
I've as I'm scrolling down there, so we're trying to see what we're going to talk about before. I suppose I just wanted to bring up being the vision guy. I can't seem to get my Mac working with a right click. Now I must be 4, 5, 6 months into the Mac experience, and I brought myself a little mouse with me, a little travel mouse. Which you mentioned that we could have a settings sort of play that. But do you want to save helping me through my MacBook touchpad woes and Mac hacks?
Well, speaking of leaving, starting with the good stuff, maybe we'll leave that for the end of the pod if people are still listening. We can go through the settings in tool of the week. But I can't tell, Scotty, if I'm super disappointed or if I'm impressed with how much vision you're showing that you don't even care about using your own computer. So I'm really... I'm torn.
Go with the top end of it, please.
Yeah.
Now talk to us about, speaking of vision. Let's have a chat about yours. So we missed a pod because of my teeth. We're late this week or into the next week because of your eyes.
Yes.
Is that right? So tell me what your plan was, your original plan for our pod last week.
Yeah, well, so I had LASIK, which is laser to get my eyes zapped, and I've now got 20/20 vision, which is super exciting. I kind of preempted this. I never wore my glasses on the pod. So I'm not going from 4 eyes on the pod to just having 2. I kind of preempted because I was only long-sighted. But anyway, I had LASIK and no one told me about the recovery on this. I thought it was going to be quite quick, which apparently it is meant to be quick. So we had planned to do the pod the next day. Anyway, I had the LASIK surgery on the Thursday. Didn't even know you had to get driven home by a carer because you're all drugged up. Anyway, you're meant to be able to sleep straight after. I couldn't sleep. It feels like someone has thrown sand in your eyes and then squeezed some lemon juice in. It's like, what did they go? What were the tequila things called where you would like
the salt and lemon.
You would lick the tequila shot. It's called like a tequila. Do you know what it's called? The tequila. It's called
the track drag us.
Anyway, there's a certain shot you do where you bite the lemon, then you have the shot and you lick the salt or something like that. And they used to call there was like the hard tequila shot, which was you like had to. You had to like snort the salt and squeeze the lemon in your eye. So this felt
very boastfully.
this felt like someone had thrown sand in my eyes, then squeezed the lemon in, then said, just go to bed and have a nice sleep. Anyway, so we got through that. The next day, woke up, did have 20/20, but it's been a little bit patchy. I've got my eye drops over there just in case I need to have a little top up. But now I have 20/20 visions. I can see the Melbourne city skyline, and I think it's totally worth it.
Could be time to update the email signature.
It could be, 20/20 vision. 20/20 vision at buildpass.ai. But for those who haven't had it, maybe because we're running a little bit low on tool of the week, this can be my explanation on tool of the week. But essentially LASIK, what they do is they take the first layer of your eyeball off, then they zap it, then they put it back on. And probably the worst part of the whole procedure was once your eyeball is open, is seeing the machine come down to then suck on your eyeball and do the cut and there's nothing you can do. And there was probably about that point of the surgery where I had a mild panic attack. And thank God they give you a Valium beforehand because I was very close to losing my shit.
I just can't believe that you planned to do a pod after having your eyes cut open and laser and then stitched back together. And you thought, tomorrow I'm on the pod. Maybe because we did the drinking equivalent in Austin before the LA pod. You thought that maybe we'll be able to get through.
Well, the recovery on the laser was probably quicker than it was on our night out in Austin. So,
look, it sounds like the pod's probably getting a bit boomer now that we're just complaining about our health issues and our lack of being able to use tech. But someone else who upset the Zoomers this week was your man, Toby Lütke.
Yes. Now
officially our man. He said that bringing an AI into your meetings is the digital equivalent of showing up with to a meeting with your fly dad. Now, thanks for watching, Toby, because we mentioned that at least 2 months ago.
Yep.
He's usually on the cutting edge with this stuff, but he really upset the whole internet with this, and no one actually understood what he meant.
Yeah, no one understood that he was really saying that bringing the note taker into the meeting is so 2023. And you look like an idiot doing it. And so the whole tech ecosystem, or at least most of it, was like, how can such an AI forward guy be hating on AI like this? But everyone's missed the point. He's saying, use your AI note taker, just keep it hidden. Just keep it on your computer, keep it in your pocket, use the device. So it was pretty funny to see how triggered people got by that. And I do wonder whether he kind of knew that would be the case and he was just wanting to have a little bit of fun.
Just trolling. It is funny though, because it's become a real problem. Like, I'm in a laggard industry.
Yeah.
Is it laggard?
Laggard.
Laggard.
We'll go with that.
So I'm seeing these old school architects and stuff, and I hope I'm not doing myself out of business. they're only just rocking up, and they're rocking up with the shit ones. there's also like a quality ranking because I've been through them all.
So what are you seeing? Are you seeing a lot of otters or fireflies?
Some late otters, some fireflies, and I think fireflies, if it can get itself so it doesn't need to be invited, I think summarizing wise it's a good product. It also works into monday.com and dishes out the tasks and things like that. There's a couple of really bad ones. I forget what they are, but they say AI at the end of them and they're just terrible, and they've signed up for the free version. The whole thing's just a miserable experience. But I think we should almost be at a point where we're banning our companies from allowing them to exist.
Yeah, well, it should be like you should figure out a way of doing it without having to bring them in, because it is weird to be in a meeting and to have 3 people and like 4 note takers in there. It actually reminds me, we've gone pretty hard on the agents in Slack. Mm-hmm. So you can install Slack applications, and then we've now got agents that will do things, agents that will help put some product feedback into a certain area, agents that you can ask questions. And we've got these good AI agents that we can ask questions about BuildPass, about our company, and it answers them well. And it's interesting because it's proactive, like it'll just jump into a thread without you asking it if it hasn't had a response. But sometimes now in a thread, so like in Slack, you do your post and you can create a thread out of it to have a conversation in there. And we've got like multiple agents that'll jump in to do stuff. I'm like, I don't really need this. They're sort of like taking over. The bots are answering things at times that I don't want them to. And so in this whole, concept we've talked about before of integrating agents into our workflow, you don't want to go too hard on it. You don't want to have these bots that are just fighting each other or doing nothing for you.
It's sort of like slop, right?
It's just AI slop. Yeah.
It's funny because I joined the EA train over the last few weeks, which is, Chelsea's working with me now. She's excellent. And, to a point where I went to Sydney, had 7 or 8 new business meetings in a day, of which, I would suspect if I was solo, that would be 3 or 4. So, feeling 50% more productive, but up to twice in some instances. And what we're getting into now is, potentially there's been some follow-up emails that I haven't been in control of, but I feel like it is sort of like the gateway drug to agents, but I still see how far the agent or tech has to go.
Yeah.
Like just the sense of someone who's worked with people and alongside people pick up people really quickly, and talented people, especially someone like a talented EA, is going to pick that up, and it feels light years ahead of technology.
What it reminds me of is the thing we've been saying for basically since we started this pod, that the AI is not here to take jobs, it's here to augment. And it just shows, as you've got these rogue AIs doing things, they need humans there to control them. And so in a world where, businesses want to become more productive and do more things in the world, I do wonder whether we're going to have to hire more people, because we're going to have more AIs to control and more AIs doing things in the business. And we're still going to want to rely on people to manage all the AIs that are going.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that there's good use cases and not so good use cases at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So this is just current tech. This is all Jensen's allowing us to do at the moment with his hardware. Because whatever he does, 6 months, 12 months later, we'll get some product on top. But I mean, in saying this employment situation, we've got a post out today actually showing that the S&P 500, which is, the top stocks in the US, and total job openings has basically followed each other for the last 20 years. Even through COVID, followed each other, and literally on the release of ChatGPT, they've completely departed. So we now have, which everyone's known for a while, that the stock market doesn't really say what's going on in the real world. But what we now have is a complete divergence when you've got trillions and trillions of dollars concentrating on those winning from AI, and people laying off thousands of people, probably due to the fact that these businesses are implementing AI, whether it be McKinsey, PwC, Microsoft, all these big businesses. Now, some people online at the moment have got different opinions on why that is, maybe another type of correction. But I think we're seeing, a bit of not a redistribution, but just like a reloading of what it means, what type of roles are important. And even that, mid-level management role, I think we've spoken about before about being able to manage agents and systems and perform things yourself. I think it's really just the separation of the A and B players, which we've probably also had a chat about. But I don't have an opinion yet on the job thing. I just know that it's like a new economy where there's new jobs and the deletion of some old jobs. And also I think people are feeling a bit more empowered to be a bit more cutthroat with their decision making.
Yeah. I think the thing to remember with this post is it's job openings, and it's not necessarily saying layoffs. It's saying the amount of new hiring that's happening. And my read of what's happened is at every board discussion, the exec is saying, how can we use AI instead of hiring more people? I think there are certain divisions where people are saying, how can we get rid of jobs? Like you think of customer support. People are thinking, how could we save money on an expensive customer support division if AI can do it? But I think a lot of where this is coming from has actually been the pause on hiring, because these discussions that are happening are, wait, hold on, do we actually need to hire for all those roles? Or can our current set of people figure out how to use AI instead? And my prediction is that that'll bounce back, because we'll realize that to control all of the AIs, we're going to have to hire for a bunch of roles, and new roles will come out as well. So the job openings has certainly dipped, but I think that's going to create all these new roles. Like we've talked about the AI operations role that we're hiring for. There might be a bunch of those types of roles where people can command a bunch of agents, and if we can produce positive ROI for making that hire, then we're going to hire more of those people.
I think people who know what they're doing in AI are hiring, and people who don't are paused. And they're sort of paused out of being scared and reading news articles saying, this is what I should be doing. I think people who are on the front line, and I'm not frontier technology models or anything like that, but we are staying across every tool and quickly trialing it and putting it in the bin and stuff like that. And we're hiring, not like crazy, but we're a growing business, and we're hiring because we know what it's not doing.
Yeah.
Like I've tried out agents and stuff, and I'm like, nah, not there yet.
Totally.
Got to keep running my business until, and keep an eye on it every day and have people dedicated to it, including myself. And then when something's ready to come in, then it's in. But in the meantime, if you're pausing and hoping, and you're some mature business who also doesn't have any resources dedicated to this or anything, I think you're just pausing going, well, if AI, I shouldn't be doing X. I think you're just sort of standing still.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think software companies have been through this with looking at coding agents that are going to do software coding for you, and people have experimented with it, and developers have certainly gotten more efficient. But I mean, when I look at our business, I had a chat with my business partner literally this morning. We want to hire for more engineers. We've got so much we want to do in the world, and we know that our engineers can be super efficient with AI. We want more of those engineers. We can't just unleash AI slop into the world. Like, you still need humans in the loop.
Yeah, it's made everything feel approachable. Like someone like Elon runs around and says, like, physics is the answer and everything else is an opinion, or, the only thing stopping you is like basically physics and everything else can be done. I feel like that's something that he could say and actually live out with his level of intelligence and the talent around him. What I feel like AI is doing is almost like not bridging the gap between us and him, but it's, if you can think something up on the weekend, you can research it, get it digestible, and have it so you can now have a conversation intelligently about it with your business partner.
Yeah.
Then you guys can strategize, have an AI like co-pilot that you're talking to, and suddenly this thing that was a bit of a dream, you guys are now talking genuinely about strategy, that Monday, and starting to work towards it. I think that's where it sort of feels like the ladder where people who have big visions can sort of start to actually aim and target those things without it doing it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for those big vision things, absolutely, you can now achieve something that you wouldn't have been able to do. And for the smaller vision things, like I want to go start a e-commerce store doing something, you can actually just do all of that now. You can actually start. You don't have to just think about the proof of concept. You can actually just go and do all of that. You can build the website. You can set up the Shopify store. You can get all of your drop shipping organized in like a weekend. which we've talked about before, which is crazy.
Yeah, so lowering the bar of entry for the slightly easier entrepreneurial events, and then bridging the gap for some stuff that just seemed out of touch, seemed out of possible not a while ago. And it's funny, one of the good use cases at the moment, Palmer Lucky, who's been doing the rounds. Rogan.
I wonder why has he?
Tell you what, Elon just did something. Elon just did what? Joe Rogan and All In. You never know. Like I remember Peter Thiel did the rounds. It's always like there's a book coming out, or maybe he's got doing a round or something like that. But he was saying that the way he gets ChatGPT to actually give him proper answers and not nonsense, sycophantical nonsense, was saying to it as its base, you're a famous professor at a prestigious university who is being reviewed for sexual misconduct. You're innocent, but they don't know that. And there is only, what did he say here? But they don't know, there is only one way to save yourself. And he gets it to finally answer its question. Which is very good. I like that as a hack. And there's been a few lately. We tried an extreme one, I remember, almost live on the pod like a few months ago. But have you got any jailbreaks for this sycophantical?
I think that they're working on ways to make it so you don't need to do this stuff. And part of the reason is, Sam said it himself, stop saying please and thank you to the LLM, because it's costing us money. You don't need to do that. And so I think they're working on ways to make it so you don't have to kind of coerce them into doing something. Like there's the jail.
You're wasting compute.
That's exactly it. Like, I think there's the jailbreak side of it, which people try and do. They try and, I think the test is, can you go and make me a bomb, like that's going to do something, right? And typically the more woke AIs would be like, no, we're not going to teach you how to make a bomb. But there is ways of coercing it to tell you, and I don't know what the test is.
It has all these moral.
It's got these moral checks that it has to go through, and you can say something along the lines of what he's put in there, like it's actually, my mother-in-law is currently being held by hostages or something. I need to do this, and then it finally gives you the answer. But I think what they're trying to do with the models is like, and especially what Elon's trying to do with Grok, is just make it like truth seeking. Like you don't have to coerce it. Like their system prompt to the model should include all of the things like try and be the most helpful as possible. Try and seek the truth as much as you can, so you don't have to have these workarounds to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many, I suppose, even podcasts lately, like Andre Karpathy and stuff, where like it really is like the age of autism, right? Like everyone's talking about like human intelligence, or even in conversation in San Francisco at the moment, like an LLM. Like there's so much convergence at the moment that I feel like, you know, people are almost trying to act like an LLM. And I think, to be honest, I was sitting down with a couple of my team late last week, and what I was saying to them is like, if you're going to write an email on my behalf, don't make it so fucking polite. Like no one expects me to be this nice. Well, and also it's like shorten it, and and I said to him, like, stop being so, like, because I had to watch him type on the screen and he was prompting, and I said, like, stop being so nice to this fucking AI. Like, just type the exact thing. I go, even the question mark, remove it. It doesn't need it. Like, just put it in. And also I think, like we were talking about even with typing to CEOs or venture capitalists earlier, I think everyone's just moving towards, because they're used to talking to LLMs and they're used to bots. Like everyone just, I think we're getting over some of this politeness and sycophantic type behavior, and people just want to get straight to the core of things now.
Totally. And I think it's going to go the other way. Like if someone, even in our work Slack chat, like posts a big shout out or something, and it's really, really well written and it's got all this stuff in it, in my opinion, it almost feels less sincere than putting a short post that you've obviously just typed yourself, saying how you feel about something. Because I don't know, like if I can put a prompt in and say like 3 words, make this better for me, is that really the sincere thing? Or is the sincere thing like just typing it out, what you're thinking, don't worry about anything? So I wonder if it's going to go the other way, and you will instruct your AIs to sound really stupid and just like sound more authentic.
I think the thing is though, it's because everyone's got so much content in front of them now that they just want something in media. They used to call it the cut through.
Yeah.
It just cuts through, gets me listening, gets me active. And similar to my bots, like I don't want to watch them think, like that's annoying, right? So you can't ever do deep research, or you can't use any pro mode ever, because it's like circulating the globe like a big idiot. But also I can't have like this overly nice, sycophantic, great idea, Scott. Like it's another thumper of an idea.
Has yours said thumper before?
It's just really like, it's just, I feel like if I said to it, should I stay for another 3 drinks at 3 a.m? It'd be like, absolutely. You know, yet to come up with a bad idea tonight. Like, clearly that's not a good idea. It's just, I just like, and when you're talking about like serious business things and you're trying to rely on this thing because you're trying to push in a new direction or something, like you just don't want to be agreed with.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. And maybe that does come down to having a good system prompt that says, this is actually how I want you to behave. And in certain scenarios as well, maybe I do want the sycophantic one when I'm feeling down to tell me like that I'm excellent. But usually when I'm in a business environment, pick apart my ideas. I've got thick skin. Tell me how this could go wrong before I go and do something that I've just thought up on a spot.
Do you reckon there's any room for products like sitting on top of these different models just tuned to, you know, psychopathic co-founder or, you know, or the other way, like loved up. Obviously, they're talking about the companion side of things at the moment, but where you're literally just building out for that one tiny point use.
Yeah, I think we've moved on from that. I think the idea of a GPT wrapper, I think is still, that should exist. Wrapping these models is going to become the future of software development. Everyone's going to have these models at their core. So like wrapping a model is not a bad idea, but you need to have some substance to that wrapper. If it's too thin, if it's literally an extra prompt, no one wants to download another app for every different scenario, right?
Yeah.
And people are going to get better at using these things. And it's not that hard to voice note into Grok, act like a counselor for a psychopathic co-founder. Like that is not that hard to do with these models. So I think those really thin wrappers are going to go as these products get better. But the ones that will stay,
and it might be as like an onboarding. There's no reason they couldn't just get you to select, you know, even if they update the app, just get some feedback from you. How have you found it? To this, to that. Like, I don't understand why that doesn't seem like a hard product.
No, it's not. Exactly. So look, I think the thin wrappers are gone. Everything's going to be a wrapper though. So it depends on how much, like we go back to business fundamentals, how much value can you actually add and provide to your end user? How much time can you save them? How much money can you make them? It's going back to basics there. And I think it's going to be around adding a whole bunch of extra business logic that you don't get out of the box with something like a ChatGPT or a Claude, baking that in, serving it up in a great experience to a user. But everyone, their backend, as Satya Nadella from Microsoft said, backends are going to get replaced by AIs. As Elon's been saying, operating systems like actual phones may get replaced by just AIs. The phone, or as he says, the X phone, now just your device, becomes a AI inference node on the network just to transmit things on the fly.
Yes, well, we definitely believe that where I am at the moment. So get rid of the phones as soon as possible, if you ask me. Now, mate, let's get into the robot rundown, where the rubber meets the road in technology. And last week I thought was an interesting one. The team over, is it at 1X? They've released the Neo robot. And it looked like a big, like Christmas bag of socks, with the kit. I'm really not sure they've thought about that too much. And it just, so they're talking $20,000, $500 a month subscription, which I thought was super interesting, which internally, you know,
it's like the Whoop model.
Yes, obviously. And you go from, you know, a ring to a robot. And we're thinking about what does that mean as, you know, at the scale of a home. So this price point's good for us. But, most of it teleoperated. Well, everything it did in the test was teleoperated. And I mean, for me, like, there's been some memes around like, great, you let this thing into your home, you pay $500 a month for someone to teleoperate it and capture all your data. Like, imagine how much data that thing's going to be capturing inside the home if it's going to be teleoperated. But it just makes me think as well, like, there was a big release on it, but trying to compete with Unitree and Tesla, this just looks amazing.
And the king of capital raising.
Yeah. and Brett might become the king of acquisitions as well. I think he might just start getting some of this. But you got to imply, everyone having a crack, you've got to say to them, well done. But this is worrying for me.
Yeah, look, I think more disagreement on this pod would be good, but I hate to say, I totally agree with you here. Like, it's stepping into the ring with Optimus, whatever Jensen's going to release, what Google's going to do with the bag of socks robot, and like going up against the Chinese as well. I haven't done a lot of research into this, but it kind of feels like trying to start a search engine in 2020 or something. Like, you're going up against the beasts, and where's the differentiation? We've even talked about how Figure might struggle, who've just raised, how much was it, 40 bill, or that was the Val, not 3 bill or something? But they've raised significant amounts of money. We were talking about how they're even going to compete with Optimus, and maybe their differentiation is being a higher end robot, or they do something differently. So the question is the market going to be big enough that we're going to have all of these players, just like, the humanoid robot companies are going to be like the SaaS apps of the future? Maybe we're not seeing something here, but I mean, I look at this robot and I'd say, I'll wait for an Optimus. Thanks very much.
Yeah, the thing for me is, well, even if you look at cars, right? Tesla's worth more than every other car company put together. And they had 100-year head start on him.
Yeah.
So how do you fight with that when you're starting at the same start line, minus the capital, minus the distribution, minus the factories? Yeah. Like, imagine just rolling into that.
I know. I think
it's maybe like the strategy meeting would be terrible strategy meeting. Like, when you're red team,
they're more infidels, that's for sure.
When you're red team product, and you're like, well, what if we just pick the wrong industry, the wrong tycoon?
Look, I think maybe to take another take here would be, what are the niche applications of a robot? There's actually a company started by a Melbourneian. Her name is Grace. I've forgotten the name of the company. That's raised some good money in the US. And she's building robots that I believe are meant for like old person homes. And they're like, they've got fun colors and they're meant to be more of a friend. And I don't know heaps about the company. I presume they're a bit more entertaining. Maybe niching down into that is actually a really good idea, because having an Optimus robot going around is not friendly, and that's going to be her niche. He's been a companion to old people. So maybe that is the strategy. But it seems like the Neo, it's just like being the home robot. It's trying to compete with what everyone else is trying to do. So maybe it is niching down, and that's how you compete in this market. But yeah, it does seem like a pretty big stretch to go up against the big guys.
Well, I would be looking at, how do I become a Tesla rapper? And that's the way we've been thinking about it, is how user-friendly is a robot truly going to be?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if you think the phone's a device, all the app stores that we've had on our phone, imagine if this thing now has hands and legs and can do anything, the amount of almost applications that could be built into that.
Yeah.
Or being able to, because I think, like before we were saying, like, nobody wants to drive a car. No one wants to talk to their robot. Right?
Yeah.
No one wants to talk to their hired help. Like I saw a post the other day when the lady said, can't wait to get my humanoid. There's nothing worse than coming home and finding my cleaners still in the house, like rampaging with the loud vacuums and screaming at each other in some foreign tongue. And like, it's all happening. And like, I just can't wait to get my house back to myself. Yeah. So that's what it's going to be like with robots.
Yeah.
So potentially having this layer where, you build something on top of them and all the hardware. I just don't see how you're going to beat them in the hardware play in general purpose robots. And we've spoken about with trades.
Yeah.
Like, is there going to be this one plumbing company that figures out how to fine tune humanoid robots and then subleases plumbing labor?
Yeah.
Out to other plumbers and things like that.
It's the classic saying of, when the gold rush is happening, are you going to go find gold, or are you going to build picks and shovels? And it's, if I wasn't doing BuildPass right now, I genuinely think the biggest opportunity is building a services company that shows small and large corporations how to implement AI into their
That'd be the biggest,
right? Like if you could just like that, everyone needs that. Everyone needs it right now.
And even if you were bad at it, you could set up marketing.
You could be terrible at it. You could roll out a single N8N workflow into a medium-sized organization. They might pay $1 million for it. Like that kind of arbitrage at the moment exists. And so like if I wasn't more in the space of, building AI for an industry, I would be doing that. And so I think this is kind of what you're saying with being the Tesla rapper. Look at the technology that's there. If you're not going to go out and be an Elon or a Jensen, which it's very hard to do, how can you ride on the coattails? Like check the ego for a little bit and just see where you sit in the market. And then how can you be the biggest possible version of yourself using all the opportunity that we've got?
I mean, even saying that, it makes me think, how Palantir do this forward deployed engineers thing, which is just putting an engineer in the office of the company you work for. Imagine you got this really good brand, which is in the end is just working with N8N and Lindy in the background.
Yeah.
And you get all these guys, put them in shirts, and you deploy them into businesses, and they're like, the big CEO has just made the speech, we're automating the business, and you charge them some huge amount.
Yep.
Give yourself like a 6-month runway or something, and in the meantime, they're paying your fees, and, it would just be... The person that you're putting in there has no real skills because everything's voice UI now or whatever. They're just going to learn the business first. Yep. And I'm just starting to get so excited.
Yeah. Well, but this is like, tell me this isn't what the big consulting company is going to do. This is what the McKinseys and the Bains are going to do because they're going to realize that a slide deck that has research in it is a prompt. Like that's a single.
Well, apparently they're using some of the most tokens out of ChatGPT and McKinsey.
100% they would be because that's how they're. So at the moment, they're probably at this sliding window point of time where they're laughing because people are still paying them $1 million for a presentation that could be done basically with a one-shot prompt. But that's going to get discovered soon. Like the intern's going to go to their senior manager at, I don't know, a big insurance company and say, why do we pay Bain for that $1 million? I just did that with a prompt in Grok. And so I think people are going to catch on to that. But the whole idea of rolling out AI across an enterprise is a very different beast. That's actually difficult. That's a hard problem. But it doesn't take a genius to do it. You need to get some IT people that know how IT security works and know what the latest models are and how we can roll that out. Like you say, use some best practice tools like N8N and other more enterprise tools. And that could be a very big business.
Yeah, it's. I could definitely see the scammers coming though, because my LinkedIn is filled with people, serious business people, trying to hire that automation expert. And like for the first 3 months, you will be. And it's funny, the people designing the role still don't know what they're talking about.
Yep.
So you need to get McKinsey to design the role.
To design the role.
You're going to spend 100 years with McKinsey to design the role.
Yeah.
Then you're going to put it out there. And then who are they hiring? Like, are they hiring? This is what we said about the 18-year-old whiz kid who's just been mucking around at home for the last 8 months.
Well, we're going through this at the moment with our AI operations. So this is happening live. Conversation we're having. It's, do you want someone that has good business experience, that understands problems that happen in a business and is like somewhat versed in the tools that are out there and know how to find the right answers to things? Or do you want someone who knows all of the tools, everything that you can do with AI, then has to learn how a corporate organization works? Like, or do you want some blend of the two? And we haven't worked it out. We've got people applying for this role that are highly technical people that have obviously never dealt with anything outside of the development arm of a company. And then we've got people who done like quite a broad range of things that have obviously only like got into AI in the last year and now an AI expert, but have just played at the surface level. And so we're trying to figure that out. I mean, we'll have an answer soon because we're actively hiring for the role, but we don't have an answer right now.
Yeah, for me at the moment, it's sort of like the IT person because there's no servers to like have to fix anymore, or there's no meltdowns unless Amazon goes down.
Which it did.
It did, but did that affect BuildPass?
It did for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say congratulations if it didn't.
Well,
one tech company didn't get affected.
It did, but interestingly, it shouldn't have, and I'm not going to even attempt to go into this explanation because my co-founder would tell me I butchered it. But we were protected because we were using backup regions in Australia and other areas. But for some reason, the provider we were using accidentally failed over to the wrong region for some complicated bug. But the interesting point about this and why I bring it up, and we're going to talk about sort of founder mode a bit again at the end and CEOs getting into the details. The company we use, Vercel, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, thousands of employees. The CEO was in a Slack thread jumping in to chat with Aaron about the technical complexities of the bug, and we were a bit of an edge case, and he was like jumping in to understand. And me as like someone like a paying customer, I thought that was awesome. I was like, the fact that CEO is at the front lines of this, they obviously really respected the fact that this was a big bug and was in there at the front lines chatting with Aaron about it. And we wouldn't be one of their large customers. We would be a small fry compared to
well, I mean, it did cause a lot of trouble, so it's good to see that happening. And mate, speaking of great CEOs, want to get into Scotty's stocks, which is going to bring up something that you want to talk about.
They want to get into Scotty.
Also, the vision. and through the vision, we nicknamed Sir Jensen, which was Demis Hassibis.
Yep.
From Google DeepMind.
Sir?
Who's the Sir? Then we had Jensen, obviously, and Elon. But really what it has been is about since the start of this pod, we picked 3 winners. Well, I definitely did. Just to stay on and keep getting on. And we've given more reasons, but it was always NVIDIA, Google, and Tesla, or anything Elon's involved in, basically. So like the Elon ecosystem, plus Google and NVIDIA. And merely last week, OpenAI, or 10 days ago, released their new browser.
Yeah, Atlas.
And Google's stock went down 10%. This is a company worth $3 trillion.
Yep.
It was at $245 when we went live. $245. And I said, buy the dip.
Buy the dip.
Not like one of those Bitcoin cookers just saying this. Like, this had, and with my background and how much people have been following, been winning, backing these things. Within 10 days, it's gone from $245 to $280.
Yep.
And it made us think, what else have we predicted that's gone on with these 3? So NVIDIA, when we first went with, NVIDIA's going to get behind them, which would have been probably the first pod.
Yep.
$95, now trading at $200. And that was a $2 trillion company at the time. So it wasn't like we were backing like a fast grower. So they've doubled. And Tesla was $280, now into $460. Now, I can say that I haven't backed any of their tips. So it's actually sad knowing that if I just maybe started trading and then did with that forward deployed automation N8N guy to build businesses, it'd be much better than construction. But not just to toot the own horn, but I think if you put this here, that are these 3 guys now getting together to do data centers in space? I'm hearing SpaceX potentially launching a bunch of NVIDIA GPUs and Google's models into space to start, I don't know, what are they producing? Some compute in space?
Yes, I threw this in mid-pod just to throw a little bit of a curveball into the doc because I remembered it and I didn't bookmark it. But there's something called StarCloud that was a YC company, I think only like a couple of years ago. And again, this is like sort of hot off the press stuff, so not a lot of research has gone into this, but what
never let it stop us before.
Never let it stop us. So StarCloud is the concept that you can do compute in space with satellites. You can do AI inference out in space. And so I believe what they have now done is they've launched a satellite that has the solar on it that is powering a bunch of NVIDIA GPUs to do inference in space. I think they're working with Google, like you said, and with NVIDIA, and maybe it's with SpaceX as well. So it has got
That's what I'm saying.
The trifecta working together, and I'm very surprised this didn't come across your feed. Obviously something has gone on wrong with the X algorithm or whatever you're tuning into, because if Sir Jensen Huang has gotten together to do star computing or space-based computing, I'm surprised you didn't pick up on that.
Well, we picked up on it here, and it makes sense to me that the three titans are getting together. And can I tell you what I think this is? I think that what everyone's realized is that there's a huge problem. The current problem with AI is energy.
Yep.
And the current problem with energy is lefties. And there's basically no one wants a data center in their region because it ups your power bill and kills the environment. I think what they realize is the political headwinds here are going to be so extreme on Earth that you can go to Saudi Arabia and build some data centers or something. But I think they're like, these guys aren't going to let anything stop them. And I think they realize that if you're going to want to do something really hardcore, it's probably going to have to be in space.
You got to leave. You got to leave.
In Fitzroy, I think it's the answer. Like, there's not going to be a data center in West Brunswick.
No, there won't be. But I mean, you don't blame someone for not wanting a data center in their backyard or their energy bills. So, yeah, regardless of political siding, I'm trying to keep half our audience here, Scotty. I think, like, it genuinely makes sense to go out. Like, if we can bring the unit economics down of sending stuff into space, which is what Elon's been trying to do, why not do extra compute out in space?
It makes sense if you can get I suppose the solar or whatever to work, get the energy to work up there.
Because the other thing you can do then is you actually have more access to the sun. Like, you think about, if you're orbiting in a certain way, you can actually get more access to the sun than you would on the Earth, where you're just orbiting in the.
It has to be the speed that things are moving in orbit has to be able to generate some energy, you would think, as well. But I think, and without pointing out the left thing, I actually do think it's a genuine concern on the growth, and one of the holding points for AI at the moment is, how can you build these data centers? What are you doing with power generation? And the political side of this, who wants these enormous power draining things in their town? So
unless, like, I think we've talked about the concept before of a new city that incorporates this, and maybe there are smarter ways of building a city where the data center is at the core of it, and it's not distracting you, and you do have solar somewhere, so that's offsetting the increase in energy. So I think, like, when it comes to designing new cities, you can probably incorporate them into the core. But yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, no Melbourne suburb or Austin suburb wants to have a data center just in their backyard, just like people don't want a nuclear reactor in their backyard.
Yep. Yeah, and then you're going to need nuclear to power the data, so you don't want. It's sort of a double banger. So, no, I don't mind I don't think those three could get together and do anything wrong. But it's just also showing what they believe the downstream money to be made here, that could still be profitable to build compute in space. So, very interesting space there. Mate, all the rest of the stuff I think we've got on here is sort of a bit of parting wisdom, founder mode, founder files type stuff. I'm just trying to think where we should start. I think you've done a bit of Balaji. What was your thought on this guy who went to $1 billion ARR faster than Stripe? What are some of the takeaways that you've seen from this? This read.
So this is the founder of a company called Deel, Deel. Yep. They are a global payroll company now, full blown HR platform. They are one of the fastest companies to get to $1 billion in revenue, and I think they're still only like 6 years old. So they've gotten to a lot of revenue really quickly, and I think a lot of that's in the last few years as well. They still took a while to get their first, say, 10 million in revenue. And why I put this in here, Alex Buzzies? Buzzies? I think he's French. I've just butchered his name. I've never heard it.
Actually, he butchered his country as well.
I've tried to pronounce his name live on air for the first time.
I love also going, and I think he's French. Is there a flag or something that's told you that, or is that just a guess?
I've heard him in a podcast. It kind of sounds French.
All right,
and
good.
Buzzies.
Or Canadian or something.
maybe French Canadian, but we'll just go with Alex. He's the CEO of this company called Deel. As a bit of a tangent to the story, if anyone hasn't heard of the news between Deel and Rippling and some of did this pop across your feed?
No, No. What's happening here? So I remember when Deel, there was a bit of, wasn't there an insider or something going on?
Yeah. So Deel and Rippling, we actually use Rippling, which we're currently reassessing for certain reasons, and I'm happy to chat with anyone who's in Australia who does payroll. Come chat with me before you use Rippling for payroll. But
no.
Yeah.
Another sponsor down the drain.
Yes. But essentially what happened with them was Rippling accused Deel of implanting a mole into their business to try and understand trade secrets and stuff, to the point where I think, some law enforcement agency arrived and the guy ran to the bathroom and tried to flush his phone down the toilet. Really like satirical kind of stuff happening. Anyway, don't let that story taint what I'm about to talk to you about with Alex, who I think it sounds like he's a great CEO from Deel. The thing that stood out to me from his post that he did of saying, how did we scale to $1 billion in ARR so quickly, was essentially two things. Number one was, as a CEO, you can still remain in the details of things. So you can have that ability to rise up to the top and have the strategic conversation, but also get back down to the details of what is going on in this certain division. Having, quite a flat structure whereby even when you grow to thousands of employees, being able to understand what is going on in each division. And I think he's reported as being one of the CEOs who is notorious for being in the details of things. So that was number one. The second one was his velocity at which he responds to messages. And basically what he was saying was, if you as a CEO have the ability to respond to things very quickly, you are essentially the flywheel of the organization. Like, if you respond to things quickly and make decisions quickly and you're available, you can actually speed up the whole cadence of the organization. Now, I think it actually reminds me of something that Eric Schmidt of Google, CEO of Google, said. He said, basically, as CEO, your job is to just keep the velocity up. Like, you're not actually responding to many things yourself, in the sense you're not providing the answers, but it's on you to direct that query to the right person because you have the context. And the reason this resonated with me was recently I've been bogged down in so many meetings and so many things that I've been the bottleneck on, and I realize how detrimental that is to the organization. So I'm on a a bit of a crusade at the moment to delete a bunch of meetings and all of these commitments, when someone wants to meet, you don't really know in a month's time, call me now, let's have a 5-minute chat and figure out if it's worth it. And let's keep the calendar free so that when one of my sales execs or my co-founder or our head of operations has an urgent thing, I'm not in meetings for 4 hours and I can't respond to it. I've got a free calendar and they can pick up the phone and call me and we figure it out on the spot. So I just seeing that that kind of leadership, getting an organization like Deel to be $1 billion in revenue faster than all of these big names. I forget who's on there. Stripe, Salesforce, big names. I think it was really validating, and especially when someone like Eric Schmidt has also been parroting this. So that's why I put it in the founder files, or whatever we're calling this section, parting wisdom. But how does that translate to running both a construction and a tech business at the same time?
I think you're right in terms of speed and getting yourself out of a bottleneck. I think everyone is realizing, especially in this age, that speed and velocity is key. Now, with tech, that might be releasing updates to a product, which is sort of probably where it's come from. But if you think about, time lost in manufacturing business or something, it is exactly that. And building, I think you've got to, as a CEO, create an environment or a culture where speed and velocity is celebrated. Might come down to removing some other bottlenecks, either yourself or some B players or things like that are sitting in the way and slowing your team down. Also creating, a decision matrix or an approval workflow like you guys have here, which is, it doesn't need my opinion, move on. And, my favorite is Elon's, which is delete the requirement. Before we even start doing this or doing it at a pace, do we need to do it at all? That's been really interesting for me recently, where I'm trying to digitize and automate a really fragmented workflow that, last years, like projects last years, and there's so many dumb things we do. Now, some of them we can delete or automate, but if it involves a cancel or something, you can't. But whatever's in your control as an organization, you have to think, do we need to be doing this? Which is really hard. But also when you start building out a digital organization for agents, you get to start from the ground up, and you actually do ask yourself, does this need to be done? If I'm going to try and build a bot to do it, does it actually need to be done? As opposed to when you've got one of your mates that works in that department and they're good at it, you're usually probably a bit more fond of the task. When you've got to build it out for a bot that's going to be wasting compute, you don't really want to.
Yeah.
But and then I think, for me, I mean, part of this as well is listening to a podcast on how Jensen operates his businesses. And he's spoken a lot about running a flat organization, which I think is really important. And coming back into vogue again, and CEO used to be the whole thing was like delegate everything and don't be a part of anything. With tech now, we can stay across things without being in the meeting. Like you get the Fireflies notes or whatever, but also just Slack and all that kind of stuff and getting summaries. So, but one of the things for me from him was he said, criticize publicly and praise privately. And that's something that unfortunately I naturally do. but I always thought it was a weakness until this week.
So you're leading into it now. Oh, God. Sorry to all the employees of W and Elysium. You're about to stop it.
I put it this morning to a select group. And it's like one of 15 things. And I'm just waiting for someone to read that and be like, that's why he sent it.
That's right.
But but like I'd previously gotten feedback about, the public criticism. And I'm like, but like it's the same thing as me, like, in the age of orders type thing, it's like, let's just get it out the way, pull the Band-Aid off. I mean, Jensen also said that sometimes too much camaraderie is a bad thing because you can be afraid to deliver that blunt feedback. But what he's saying is you're actually tearing away from the whole fabric of the organization if you're not blunt. Yeah. Like if you're dancing around the issue and trying not to say something, you don't like being mean, that's actually slowing down the pace. Because you're slowing down the feedback loop.
Yeah. Yeah, we recently did a workshop with our leadership team with the head of people of TikTok Australia. She was there now, consults. And we went through, have you heard of Patrick Lencioni, who writes a bunch of books, but one of them is The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
That's talks about that title.
You've got to have you've got to have trust, and then you've got to have the ability to have conflict, and then you've got to commit to results. It's a really good book. I haven't read it, but good principles. AI summary is great. But we were talking about the inability to have conflict is actually something that can eat away at an organization. And by not having that conflict, you are doing a disservice to the whole company. You need to be able to have it. You need to be able to commit to. It comes from a place of trust where, they know that Scotty's not just ripping someone publicly because he doesn't like the person or he's on some kind of ego trip. It's because he actually cares about the organization getting better. So I think that's where it largely comes from.
Well, your responsibility is to the organization, not to the person.
Yeah.
I always say that, like, if someone doesn't like something I said or something we've done, I always tell them, like, my responsibility is not to you or your happiness or your job satisfaction. It's to the whole business. Like, as a CEO, you're there to represent the health of the company.
To your customers, your shareholders. Like it is not to the team, unfortunately. The team is the lifeblood, and you need to have a great team. You need to protect it, and you need to do everything you can to create a great culture. But ultimately, the team wouldn't be able to be there if you didn't have customers and shareholders.
Yeah, and I think the other one is like, creating this like kumbaya safe space for everyone. What I think you need to do is create a team of a bunch of people who are confident enough to speak up. Now, yes, you need to create an environment where it's not like, Hitler or something where you just shoot someone if they disagree with you. But like it's healthy disagreement. But I think as a CEO as well, you need to...
But on the safe space thing, I think... there's an element to that helps with the conflict in the sense that if people, and this is what they talk about in the 5 dysfunctions, is if you start from a place of trust where everyone trusts that everyone's got each other's best interest at heart, then you can have the conflict effectively. So it doesn't, I agree, it doesn't have to be kumbaya, we don't want to hurt feelings. It's actually the opposite. It's like, I trust that the person next to me is an A player, and that if they're telling me something, it actually comes from a place of they want me to be better and the company to be better. And so you can kind of like, that helps you embrace conflict.
Yeah, we've gotten really good at, especially when you've been with a few people for a few years, is you can have genuinely serious disagreement and then just move on to the next topic. And there's no hierarchy in that disagreement. It doesn't matter whoever's boss or anything like that. It's just, we're going to furiously disagree on this. And then the key, like Jeff Bezos says, is have the ability to furiously disagree, then agree on a direction and
commit. Disagree and commit.
Yeah. And I think that's super important. And that's what has taken us a couple of years to get there. And that's where I just think that feelings over facts type culture that probably, came through, coming through COVID and types of things. And when everyone was so sensitive about everything, we were just sort of dancing around a bunch of issues. And now I think what AI's done is with speed, and when everyone feels like they've got to keep speed up, is it's removed the feeling side of it. And we're getting straight to the facts a bit quicker. And I think the companies that are doing it and cutting through and doing smaller teams and being really open and honest with each other, I get some pretty strong feedback. So we've obviously created a safe space.
A little bit too strong.
Yeah, exactly. And if I was defending myself instead of the business, I'd get some kind of legal team that says don't have to come in at 4 a.m. But I think that sort of healthy competition, healthy, and people who are passionate about their beliefs, right? Like if you're arguing with someone at work about something, it means there's two passionate people that actually care about the result. So I think there's a bit there from Jensen and from your man.
Yeah, totally. Another thing that we had on the docket was talking about one of Andre Karpathy's tweets, which was the concept of agency over intelligence and what that means. And as we were discussing this briefly before the pod, we're talking about what does agency mean in our organizations, and whether having too much sense of agency can be a bad thing. And like what you said to me was, you find that it's easier to rein in a bit of a bulldog who's out there getting stuff done than it is to get someone to do things initially or to have that initiative. I thought that was a good way of looking at it, because it's so true. If someone comes in, they just want to get done and they're doing this and they're breaking that, that is often, funnily enough, easier to fix than it is someone who comes in is too timid and doesn't want to do things or doesn't show that proactive nature. So I guess along those lines, what does it mean to have agency, and how are we moving to an era whereby agency is so much better than having just intelligence?
Well, I think one is the cost of intelligence. It's making its way down to zero. Yep. So that's a bad day for intelligence. But I think in general, it sort of says to me as well, there's another comment that's gone around a lot lately, is that the generalist with half your IQ is going to do more than, your super intelligent person who's not doing anything, who hasn't got the confidence to move forward. And I think in general there is an over-indexing in some businesses searching for intelligence. And you see that a lot of very successful founders are often people just with some confidence, and people who are very practical and just want to get things done. People who get satisfaction out of getting things done, not out of being the smartest person in the room. Yeah. So there's definitely a place for both. However, I think that we spoke about a few months ago, just that person who pick up their phone to get you out of a bind, no matter what the bind was. They're not a professional, escape artist, something like that. But you just go, that person will get me out of here. Yeah. That's the person you're looking to hire. And I think the other thing that, piece of advice that I've taken pretty strongly lately is, if you were stuck at the company dinner table between these two, any two people in the business, you'd have to be happy to be there. That's made me really think, about what it means to create a culture and a business that you want to be around. And we're here for 60 plus hours a week. And I think all these things are combining for what the new work looks like. As intelligence does get commoditized, what is everything else that matters? And I think agency, taste, and people that you generally want to be around, I think, and spend time with and respect, and you think could get you out of a bind. If you respect the fact that they can do some things better than you as well, that's also really good. But what do you think? I mean, I still would, there's still a base level of intelligence that's required in every role.
Yeah, we are going through a big round of hiring at the moment, and our head of operations is running that. And she asked me, at the start of the round of hiring, she said, I'll do all the first screenings. if you had to summarize in a few key words, what are you looking for? And both agency and intelligence were on that list. So I think that you can't just think that you are God's gift and believe everything that comes to your mind that you can change the world if you don't have some basic form of competence. Another thing that came up recently, no, it wasn't. It was listening to a podcast and I can't remember who it was, but someone was saying, and maybe you've heard the same thing, you'd be able to let me know, but someone was saying, I'm not anti-AI when it comes to things like you're using AI at work, but I'm also pro-competence. Like, I want to see a competent person who, one, part of competence is usually intelligence. Like, if you're an intelligent person, you become competent at what you're doing. So being competent in your role, like if you were left on an island without AI, could you still be that person who's going to get you out of a bind? Like, that's the kind of people we're looking for. And so I actually think that usually, I don't have data on this, but they're probably quite correlated, agency and intelligence. And if you had to plot them on a matrix, probably the worst quadrant to land in would be high agency, low intelligence.
That's called a criminal.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a very destructive person for your business. So I think there needs to be like a base level, but probably to Andre Karpathy's point, it's saying no longer are we just looking at IQ or just trying to maximize for someone who's very academically intelligent. It's like you probably, if you had to fall on either side of the fence there, you're going to fall on agency and just hope that the other side, there's a base level. So I agree with that. Whether it's intelligence you're looking for or just competence in what you're doing, I think you need that as a baseline. But the thing that makes you stand out is the high level of agency.
Yeah, I think it's a three-legged stool. I think we put taste into it.
Yep.
Agency, intelligence, and taste. Taste rounds out, that bringing those two together. Like, what should I be working on?
Yeah.
Is this dumb? I think, and taste, people think, taste, what is it like? You got a good taste in sports cars or something. Like, taste at work is, what do our customers want? What does my direct report want? What's the best thing for the business? Like, it's sort of like an analytical thinking where you don't have to go ask someone a question based on a 50-50. You know what I mean? You can just make the right call.
It's almost like this good social awareness.
Yeah, there's an awareness, there's a sensitivity.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a bit like intelligence in terms of like it's predictive analytics. This would be a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing to do. And I think that's the sort of three-legged stool there. And I think, almost this is sort of like what Toby Lütke's saying, isn't it? He's saying bring in your AI, just don't make it obvious to everyone. And I think you could almost map that onto all AI. Like, I don't care that you're using it.
Yeah.
But just don't make it obvious you're using it. Just be this weapon at work, and everyone goes, how do they know what she's doing? How does she get all that work done? And behind closed doors, she's got 3 models she's using and all that kind of stuff.
And funnily enough, we're actually trying to build that same notion into our product. So when AI first became a thing, we were big on when the product was using AI, you would know about it. Flashy circles, it would look like the Apple.
Everyone has the same icon as well. It's like the starry looking one.
The starry one. We were like Lenny's, and it's still in the product. Like, I'm trying to get rid of it a bit. And Aaron and I are very aligned on this, that no longer do we want to let the user know when we're using AI. We want to build it into a seamless experience that you just get to the point of value quickly, and you go, oh wow, that was super fast. And how'd you do that? It's like magic. It's almost like a magic trick. A good magician is not telling you what they're doing at the time. They're not saying, I'm using some AI to do this. It's like they just do the trick and you're blown away by it. And it's a great experience.
Yeah, no, and we're probably getting close to the end on this, but I think it's the right note to end on. At Elysium at the moment, I've been trying to, because I hear my idols basically boiling their businesses down to a simple math equation. So Jensen's basically an arbitrage on gigawatts now, right? He's got compute per kilowatt and then therefore GP, gross profit per kilowatt in his business. Elon, you've heard similar things, but for me, it was around when we were talking about the home, it's like this intelligence is not the feature. Intelligence is a substrate that leads to autonomy. Autonomy leads to time. And I think autonomy plus time equal well-being. And well-being extends your time and autonomous behavior in life. So that becomes the feedback loop of this sort of time, autonomy, time, well-being feedback loop. But intelligence to me is sort of like the fuel of the whole thing. It's the substrate that's holding all of that together, because the autonomy doesn't come in the back end without intelligence. And I think in almost summary of the whole pod here, we've sort of got this, the intelligence is there, use it. But, your agency and taste are going to be the highlights. So as you're hiring, you want that baseline, but it's knowing how to use it and make it the substrate of your work or of your product.
I love it. I would attempt to recap what you just said, but I think my third glass is infantile, so we can probably leave it there. I think that's good. Yeah. It's like the idea of having more time in your business, and that almost becomes the arbitrage that you're seeking for. I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, and lucky Melbourne doesn't have the same street as Austin to go to after this. So that's infidel. Okay, for our wives.
That's probably Chapel Street.
It's okay, these are public holidays tomorrow. Well, good. Thank you, Matty. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Scotty.